So for some reason, every time I start the recording, it starts to lag a little bit. So I'm gonna give it like a few seconds to catch up.
I love ketchup. It's delicious.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm not a big fan.
Oh no, come on. That's about everything.
Nah. Mayo. I like mayo, but ketchup and mustard, not a big fan of. Mustard, I
Are
can
you
sort
a
of
mayo and
tolerate.
French fries guy?
Mayo on what? French fries?
Yeah, people do that. Mayonnaise and French fries.
I wouldn't go out of my way to, but I don't see why not.
A lot of people seem to really like that.
Yeah. All right, so I think we should be good now. So, hey, what is going on, you guys? It's your man James, aka JP, back again with the Toy Room. And due to some technical difficulties, we will not be live streaming this interview, but we're still going to be bringing it to you guys. So today we're doing our first interview of Arcade1Up. I'm trying to get members of the Arcade1Up community together just to kind of hang out, talk, and do an interview and whatnot. So I thought it'd be a really cool concept, and it's only right that we started off with Glen from Glen's Retro Show. How's it going, Glen?
James, doing great. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Thanks for coming on, man. And just I feel like everybody in the Arcade1Up community already knows who you are, but for the people who may not know who you are, just tell them a little bit about yourself and about the channel.
Well, Glenn's Retro Show started about 4 years ago, and it basically came out of I needed something kind of do with my time, kind of thing. And I've been doing this since the first Odyssey, 1972, the original
Wow.
Magnavox Odyssey. So I've had a lot of history with the games. My collection has kind of grown quite a bit after the fact, but it really maybe hit more of a stride for me in recent years with companies like Basic Fun, My Arcade, and then Arcade1Up. And it's funny about Arcade1Up because I really didn't know anything about them until about a year and a half ago, when I think it was just on Facebook. I saw some rumblings about this company going to bring out some of these machines, and I saw Asteroids, and Asteroids was my game.
Right.
So back then, I started saying to myself, it's a great concept. It's a pretty good price. So the next thing I wanted to do was create a Facebook group, which has now become the official Facebook group for Arcade1Up, for people to kind of talk about it.
Right.
And it's been a very wild ride. As you know, James, and I'm sure people there know, the gaming community, it can be very black and white, very harsh about many things. Sure. And you have your purists on one side of the fence, and then the people who just enjoy things for what they are on the other side. Exactly. And when I started that group, it was just myself originally, and it got kind of out of control with people going, saying good things, bad things, just being harsh. And I brought some moderators on, and actually I lost some moderators over the years because it became a lot on them. But I think now we're 11,500 subscribers on that group, and I think it's kind of calmed down. And in addition to that, we have a lot of sister groups that have come out of that. There's the Arcade1Up modding group. There's the Arcade1Up Canadian page, Australian page. So these brother and sister groups have kind of all come together around Scott and his product, the Arcade1Up stuff. And I think it's a good thing. We still have a lot of people divided, but I think the latest release, which is the Star Wars cabinet, I think that's starting to people to really stop and take notice. Originally, there were issues on the launch. As everyone knows, a launch can make or break something.
For sure.
And there were some issues at the launch. But Scott, I had an interview with him a year ago, and he said certain things, and I think they're starting to come to fruition. The Mortal Kombat cab, the Marvel cab, and then now the Star Wars cab, and Turtles. I think that's really starting to show that, again, people just need to realize these are never going to be like my Zax on here. They're not going to be, or they're supposed to be, a $3,000, 300-pound machine. Right. These are machines you can take around your house, and actually, I'm glad they're not. I had to move my Mortal Kombat a minute ago, and that is a pain to move. Then when I picked it up and I moved. So it's really just a spot where people can enjoy this stuff, but you always are going to have people who just come in just to bash. And I try to give people, I get a lot of flack from my mods as well. I try to give people a lot of chances because I know some people have a bad day, but there are people who had to get banned, and I feel bad about it, but the community is there for positive stuff. If you're here to have a negative thing, I can understand it if something comes along bad, but overall, I try and keep it respectful, and there'll be no problems.
All right, so you actually just covered a whole bunch of my questions that I had coming up. You did. So my first question was, how did you first get into the arcade scene, which you covered a little bit. And then how did you hear about Arcade1Up, and when did you hear about Arcade1Up, which you pretty much covered that. And what made you start making the Arcade1Up Facebook group? So you pretty much covered the whole first half
Ooh,
of my
man, I
question.
chopped out your first three, man. Sorry about that,
Yeah,
Jay.
yeah. So now I got to regroup here. So yeah, that's pretty crazy that I think I joined the Arcade1Up group that you created maybe 2 months or so after the fact. Somebody, one of my subscribers, told me about it, and I've been there since. I've watched it grow, and it was pretty rough that first year with just the amount of people who would come in, to bash, which I still don't understand. If you don't like something, why? But hey,
Exactly.
but I think now we're at a pretty good point where all the people who are in there because they want to be in there, because they genuinely like the products or are interested in the products, don't necessarily have them yet. But I think we're really good where we're at right now. And you said what, 11,000 people? That's pretty crazy. Starting from zero, and that spawned off into we have the AT Games page that you started as well,
Right.
which isn't as popular yet, but again, the product's not even out yet. So,
Right.
so what are your thoughts on that AT Games cabinet?
Well, you know, I have. I'll move the camera just for a second. I mean, I have quite a few of the At Games products. I pretty much have all their flashbacks. And
Yeah.
again, like anything, you need to take things for what they're meant to be. These
Hmm.
were never meant to be an original console. They're never meant to be an NES classic. These are meant for impulse buys. You're in a store like, oh my God, I remember those things. You bring them home and play them. Now,
Right.
the Atari flashbacks have been okay. I mean, it's not
Hmm.
a very difficult machine to emulate, so they've been pretty okay. I really enjoy the portable. The Atari portable is
I
great.
have I have the Sega Genesis portable, and it's actually pretty good. I like it.
The problem with the Sega Genesis portable is the sound emulation. That's like the worst part. I'm a
Yeah.
big, huge Streets of Rage fan, and I was having convulsions listening to the music that was coming out of it.
Well, what
Now,
I
with
like
that,
about it, at least you can, I like the fact that you can download the ROMs onto an SD card and put them in there. So
right,
that's one way to avoid the problem.
right. Now, on the second generation of the At Games Sega Flashback, there is actually a way to hack the emulator
Hmm.
and have the sound working perfectly. I just haven't had a chance to do a video. It's been like a year. I haven't had a chance to do a video on it, but I'll try and do that. But
Hmm.
with that on there, that Sega Portable comes again for like $40. The emulation's fix is pretty nice. So with that being said, I got first wind of the At Games, Ultimate Legendary, same way I found out about Arcade1Up. It was just a Facebook post. I saw it, and I started a group on that. And there's been a lot of drama between that and Arcade1Up for multiple reasons. I don't want to get into too much, but I think everyone
Well,
kind of knows.
I think at first, a lot of people were pretty excited or at least curious, but now I feel like, they kind of dropped the ball from the announcement, and then all this time's passed and they haven't really said anything else. So I think now a lot of people's interest is kind of dwindled down, just because they're not in the public eye like they were when they were first announced.
Right. They've been kind of holding back a lot of details. They're doing things a little bit more better than the Atari VCS has been giving out information,
For
but
sure.
there's really not been a lot of information about it. Now, I've been talking with At Games for a while now, and the number one thing I tell them is the launch is key. If you got to be good at the launch. Now, I've heard rumblings that they're looking to release that before the end of the month. That's kind of what I heard. I don't know
Hmm.
what retailers are going to have it yet, but I know that a couple of YouTubers have been at like CES, got their hands on the machine, and they're pretty okay with it. So
Hmm.
we won't really know more about it until someone actually gets one in their hands, a full size unit in their hands to try out.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm hoping to
I
get one myself. I've been in contact with Harold, but you never know with these things, especially with the Arcade1Up. It took me forever to get the initial Street Fighter one. So until it's actually here, I never
right, and
hold too much weight onto it.
with that being said, again, there's been a lot of drama going between the Arcade1Up group and members there, and there is a lot of, I'm going to use the word animosity for At Games, and I
Hmm.
can't say all of it is completely unjustified.
Hmm.
Again, they've had a lot of things in the past that they need to shake off. There's a lot of past history they need to shake off. So with that being said, um, I feel personally that the Arcade1Up and the system they sell and the At Games machine are really two completely different markets. When you go to purchase an Arcade1Up machine, you're buying like a Star Wars cabinet. You want the artwork. You want
Right,
you
right.
want to feel like you got that machine in your house. Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat. The whole machine looks like that. or
Yep.
a simile of it.
Yeah.
The At Games is really a different business model. It's a larger machine. It's really meant to be a jack of all trades, almost like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
Have built-in games. You can stream games, and I know there's a whole issue now. I'm also not a big fan of their pricing model of all that, but they're not looking to do what Arcade1Up is doing. So if you're really looking to buy, this Galaga or the Centipedes, that's gonna be an Arcade1Up thing. You could probably play it, I guess, on the At Games.
But it's more of a generic cabinet.
Right. When someone comes over and says, "Oh, you got a Centipede machine, or you got a Star Wars machine," that's not what it's about. The At Games is more of you go in there and just play games on it. Yeah. It remains to be seen how well they're going to play, what they're really offering on the machine built in, and that pricing model. I still think the pricing model is too high for the community, what they're looking for.
Now, speaking of that cabinet, a lot of us noticed when it was initially revealed, the spinner that's on the cabinet looks very similar to your spinner. Now, are you directly involved with that, or?
I mean, something like that little guy right there?
That would be the one right there.
Well, I can only say that I can't say.
Understood.
But if you look at them, you could probably ascertain what it is.
Yeah.
But the official stance from At Games is they can't say. So I can't either.
Yeah, no, I got it. So now with that spinner, how'd you get into developing that part? Is that something that you fabricate yourself, or how does that work? You just give us a little insight on that.
It actually kind of came out of, again, Arcade1Up. Again, I'll say it again, launch is key. Yeah. And probably the big issues they had in the beginning, there was definitely some quality control issues. I mean, I can understand that happening. It's a new company, new product line. I get that. However, the spinner was not a quality control issue. That was a decision to use that particular device. And Tempest, I mean, Asteroids, it was an Asteroids cabinet. I'm thankful. I love Asteroids. But Tempest is another fun game I enjoy. And with these machines, I try to drive us into these companies to understand that to control your interface, the human interface to that game matters. A good trackball, a good joystick, or a good spinner. If you're going to have Tempest on a machine, you can't have a TV-style clicking spinner. It was a bad call. So there was, as you know, you were in the group, there was a lot of outrage. People really ticked off that they put that in there. Yep. So I was actually contacted by an arcade manufacturer, and there was someone who wanted to design their own stuff and work with me to kind of find out what the market kind of needed. And that's where the spinner originally came from. And then, of course, after that, I'm going to say I never had any problems with the trackball. In mine, I have Centipede, I have the 12-in-1. The trackball was adequate. Wasn't spectacular, but for the price, it wasn't bad.
Right.
But a lot of people did not like it. So we went back and we developed the Glens Retro Show trackball after that fact. And that one's a little bit more of a mixed bag. And the spinner has actually been phenomenal. I mean, it's nothing people can say bad about it.
Yeah.
The trackball is very sensitive. It's designed to be an arcade quality, very sensitive type of trackball. The way the Arcade1Up is designed and the way it pulls the port, some people find it to be too sensitive. I found it to be a little sensitive myself, but to make it less sensitive, it ruined Crystal Castles and Missile Command. So I noticed, and I talked to my guy, we were going back and forth for days. I drove him crazy. He sent me like 4 different boards to try all these different settings. And I went back to, by the time I got those other boards, I got used to the sensitivity, and then it was great. And I got a lot of feedback from people saying, their scores tripled or doubled with it. Yeah. I still get people saying, it's not the same. It's not like Centipede. Unfortunately, I can't please everyone. However, I do try. So we went back to the drawing board again, and we made some 3D printable leaves they can change out in your trackball, which will make it less sensitive. People have been trying it. I haven't got any bad feedback for it. So that was that. And then I started thinking to myself, again, interface is key. So my next thing was, I love Tron. I love Afterburner. I love Gorf. And that's where my Tron joystick came out of, and that was just released. And then
you have Star Wars in the works, right?
Right. Now, before Arcade1Up made their announcement, again, I've been talking to Arcade1Up since well before launch. I talked to Harold, I've talked to Scott, David for a long time prior to launch, but I had no idea what license. And I don't really ask, because they probably can't even talk about that type of stuff. They probably have NDAs. I have some NDAs. I can't talk about certain things, so I get it. So I had no idea they were coming out with their own Star Wars machine. However, I know I wanted a Star Wars machine. So I talked to my guy, and we developed, our yoke. and right now it's a USB style yoke. It's treated like an analog joystick, but I know there's the Allen One. It's a very well respected yoke that's been out for years, and then there's one that just came from Arcade1Up as well. Now, the differences in our model is there's nothing that's going to break. Even the Allen One, I think there's aluminum gears now because the original Star Wars cabinet had I think nylon gears.
Yeah.
There's no mechanical gears in this. It's all like my spinner. It's electronic. There's no parts to break. It's extremely smooth, and it's all made out of steel, iron, and copper, aluminum. So it's a solid. It weighs at 9 pounds. I mean, it's you kill someone with it.
Now, so for the people who maybe haven't seen or aren't in the Facebook group, if you could just show them real quick what your Tron and Star Wars look like.
Right.
Now, this Tron is all custom made. What's the base cabinet that you used to make this?
Both of these were a $75 asteroids machines that I had gotten, and at the time I wasn't sure what I was going to do with them at all. But then I decided to make the Tron unit. So I had arcade graphics, make the graphics for it, and then I had for the Star Wars unit, it was 99 Lives Arcade or Lives Arcade to make my yoke mount. But then I also had, oh my God, I can't think of his name. He's going to kill me. My other control panel was made by, oh my Lord, he's going to kill me. He's going to mess me 5 minutes after this. I'm drawing a total blank. Who did my Tron control board? He's going to be so mad at me. I'm not going to live this one down, but I had someone design my board. I'll think as soon as this conversation's over, I'll think.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh my God, it's right to tip my tongue. He's gonna be so mad at me.
Anyway, if you remember after this, just let me know and I'll drop it in the description.
Oh, he's just gonna be so mad. And I'm usually very good at those type of things, and he was fantastic. The control panel he made was phenomenal, and I'm just killing myself. I cannot think of his company's name, but we'll put it down in the comments.
Yeah.
So we had done all that, and so my thought was people could build this. But then of course Arcade1Up came out with their Star Wars yoke, and they've listened. I mean, I will say that Scott was always in the forums. He was listening, and it looks like that the yoke is pretty good. Some people still say it's not metal, but again, it's a price point you got to hit.
Exactly.
So for me, our price point was to be well below the Allen One machine, and we're trying to make it compatible with the original Star Wars arcade machine, so you have it for there, a PC via USB, and we want to do Arcade1Up, but we still haven't really connected to work on the protocols that's needed to talk to their machine.
Do you guys have any other parts or controls that you're working on other than the yoke?
Yeah, we actually have a few things in the works. Can you hear my Star Wars now, I think.
I hear it in the background.
So yeah, we're working on a driving controller. Games like Pole Position, Super Sprint, Turbo. We get a really good steering wheel and controllers. And again, people have been doing that already. They've been doing mods out there. One gentleman,
I think Retro Ralph did it, if I'm not mistaken.
He did, and he was using again 99 Lives Arcade to get some of that work in there. There was a gentleman who actually had an original Pole Position, and he actually used my spinner with a gear going to the actual steering wheel. So he was using my spinner for that. But we want to do a real steering wheel. Right. We're also working on light guns. And the technology we're using is very good. We actually licensed it from someone very big in the industry. So we're going to, again, just make it a better price point on that. I also want to make like the Arcade Warriors or Frontline type of controller where it's an 8-way directional joystick. So you can spin it in clicks and press down. So we're looking at all those type of things coming down the line. But the next project really come to fruition will be the Star Wars yoke.
Okay, that sounds pretty interesting. So I have a couple of subscriber questions. So some of my subscribers wanted to ask you something. So Cycle Draws, he wants to know if you're going to be making an LED trackball like you did with Centipede for the Golden Tee cabinet, since it is a bigger trackball.
It is. I think it's a 3-inch trackball on that one. I've seen some people who've taken mine. They 3D printed like a plate and put it in there. But again, the trackball that they put in there, Scott and I actually had this conversation in my interview with him. It's actually a ball bearing trackball. It's pretty good. It's not a Wicco or an arcade. People thought that's what it was. It's Arcade1Up's own design, but it is ball bearing. Now, as far as us doing it, the problem we run into is anytime we have plastic, the molding, that's expensive. It was over $20,000 to make the mold for that trackball.
Wow. And
it was another over $20,000 for the mold for the Tron joystick. So what we've been doing is the spinner sales. I've made a dime, so everyone knows I have not made a penny on any of these. That's not my goal. My goal is to help everyone out there enjoy these systems to the best of their ability, and to me, make sure that they can. That's my goal. But that being said, I'm not a martyr. But what we've been doing is we take the money from the spinner, and that got funded to make the trackball.
Okay.
And the spinner and the trackball got funded into the Tron joystick. We basically just made that.
Okay.
So we're looking at options we're doing now for the Star Wars yoke, because that one's a little bit easier, because that one's all metal. So it's much easier to work with. Well, not easier, but you don't have to have a mold per se for metal. It can be bent into the shape.
Yeah, you can fabricate it. Yeah.
Right. So that's a different story. But just so as far as what your question is, right now I don't know if that's going to be on the table just because of the cost to make the mold to hold that larger ball. That's the problem with that one.
So we also have a question from Sling Spade, who's a regular on my live streams. Unfortunately, Sling Spade, we couldn't do the live stream for you today. But he did want to know, he says, if you have any idea what the mini USB port on the new PCBs are for in the Arcade1Up cabinets.
Unfortunately, that's something I can't talk about. It's one of those things I cannot say at this point. I'm sure someone out there will definitely figure it out and what it could be used for. But unfortunately, I got a zipper on my lip on that one. I can't.
Understood. So it looks like it'll be maybe some future plans for Arcade1Up.
Right. But I do like that what they did in that board. I do like the light up marquee options they have in there. I do like that they have the volume in there. So again, these are all things they listen to us.
Yeah, that's they have the headphone jack, so you can do the speaker setup if you want to.
That's the real beauty of the official Arcade1Up fan group is we have 11,500 voices. They can hear what we're talking about and say, you know what? These people really want this feature. Even if it's a couple more bucks, they can do it. That's what we're contributing back to them.
And a lot of companies wouldn't even take the time to do that. So I mean,
no, that's why I really like Harold, Scott. These are, CEOs of their respective companies, and they're in the trenches. What other CEOs do that?
Yep.
None. My boss wouldn't do that. No.
They're just as passionate about it as we are. They grew up on the stuff like we did, so I think they have a little bit more of a connection to it, a personal connection, brings them back to their childhood. So
right. The one thing I hope that does happen with that is I got a lot of questions from other countries, England, Germany, Australia, Canada. And I know Scott said he's working on it, but they want to buy these cabinets. I'm not sure it could be a licensing thing. Just so people out there know, Arcade1Up may have a restrictive license only to sell these machines in certain countries. Mm-hmm. So that might be one reason why he's trying to maybe go through those hurdles to be able to release them. Because trust me, he wants to sell them to those countries. He wants to sell as many as he can.
For sure. So just taking a little detour here, what are some of your favorite arcade games of all time?
Well, remember, I grew up, I'm ancient. So I was there. I was there at the beginning. I remember the first machine I actually saw was Pong, in the arcades. So Pong and Breakout were favorites, but my all-time favorites is going to be Space Invaders. That ate so much of my money. Asteroids, Berserk, Scramble. Those are like the old Pac-Man, of course, Miss Pac-Man. Those old games are always going to be my favorites. Some of the new ones would be, like Virtual Racing. That was one of those games that totally sucked me into it. But I'm definitely an old classic. Crazy Climber. I mean, I'm nuts about Crazy Climber as well.
Okay. Yeah, see, I'm a lot younger, so me personally, I didn't grow up spending too much time in the arcades. Actually, I don't know if I spent any time in the arcades, but I was always familiar with the arcades, and I always played the home port versions of Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and all those things. And it's actually funny. Street Fighter 2 is the whole reason why I even got into Arcade1Up. I was on GameStop's website one day and I saw a Street Fighter 2 arcade cabinet, and that caught my attention. And then ever since then, I've been hooked, making videos, and it's been great. I got the Final Fight behind me. Hopefully, I can get my hands on the Marvel cabinet. We'll have to see what happens. But I think that's all the questions. I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to say to the people, or just anything in general about your channel, the Facebook group, or Arcade1Up, whatever.
Well, I would like to say that I think overall, I mean, there's the word, trolls, internet trolls. They're always out there. And Willie
that's what Mark is for, and get off my lawn gaming.
Well, I'm friends with a lot of YouTubers, you, and that's another thing. In our official fan book, official Arcade1Up fan page, there's a lot of YouTubers in it. RGT85, you, Cool Toy, myself. We have Console Kit. We have Greg's
Ralph.
Game Room, Retro Ralph. And a lot
Art,
of these guys.
Get Off My Lawn, he's in there.
Exactly. So, and a lot of these guys started because of the group. They came in there, saw this kind of stuff, and they built up on it. And like Retro Ralph, he's going crazy, and I take my hat off to him because I don't have a girlfriend at the moment, but if I did, she probably would kill me for what he's able to get away with at his place. But
well, I think she's in the gaming as well. I think I saw a live stream where they were playing together, so that's pretty cool.
They were. I think she was learning. I think he's trying to hook her in, which is great.
Okay.
She's Ralph. Hold on to her. She's a gem. There's not many of those.
I'm just getting Christina. I just got her the Nintendo Switch Lite, so she's starting to kind of get into it a little bit. So,
well, it's always good. See, again, my generation, it was probably a falsity, but girls weren't into gaming, video games like we were. They were still in the other thing. So, unfortunately, I'm missing out on what you guys are able to sit in front of a TV and veg playing, Mario Brothers. But what I was going to say before was, Willie over at Arcade USA, I'm friends with him, and there's the trolls, internet trolls. He told me, the trolls is actually a good thing because that means that you're being recognized.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. But it can be difficult when you try. I honestly try to be a good guy, a good person, and give everyone a chance. But there's some people they go after you, and you have to get rid of them. But on the other flip side of that coin, there are so many people out there. So I get messages all the time. Glenn, thank you so much for the spinner. You saved my machine. That I couldn't play Tempest at all. So those are the good parts of it. And I tell you, as you know, making these videos takes up a lot of time.
Oh yeah.
You work. You got to do that as well. I got my son Cole. He requires attention, and then do all these things. They're trying to improve everyone else's experience with these games. And again, that's my goal. I want to. If you got a controller or something you guys are thinking about, let me know, and we'll see if we can make it happen. I'm really glad that other people took up the torch for the light up marquees. Now we were looking at that, but now we have 2 or 3 separate companies making them, and I don't want to step on their toes. They're doing a good job. Let them run with it. We were going to come out with a coin door, and we were pretty much all set to go. But again, there's so many on the market now, and other people are starting to sell them. I didn't want to approach and step on their toes. So I'm trying to play a good balance. And again, even with Arcade1Up and that games, I'm not making these things to detract from what they're doing. Right. I'm just trying to say, I know from a gamer and from feedback I have from other people, it's not how it should be. And being a big corporation, as much as Scott would like to give you guys $1,000 worth of hardware at $300, he can't.
Right. I mean, there's always room for improvement. Some people, like myself, I feel like these are adequate for what they are. I haven't, all of mine are stock, but there's always room where you can improve and, add things here and there. So that's what the modding community is for. Exactly.
And that's actually a huge thing. If you didn't have the mod community, people sharing that type of stuff, it wouldn't be as big as it is.
No, definitely not. A lot of people are buying these specifically to mod them, using them as a base platform to stick a Raspberry Pi or any other modding equipment into. So the modding community is a big reason why these are successful.
I totally agree, and I've seen some things out there like Retro Ralph doing the steering, the driving game. That was crazy. He had done a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle a while ago, which was awesome. I've seen other Tron cabinets. A friend of mine hasn't shown his yet. It looks amazing. It's much better than mine. I mean, he's got the screen recessed in. He's got black lights on it. So some of these guys go really over the top with it.
Somebody did this. I remember probably a year or more ago, Super Smash Brothers custom cabinet, which looked amazing with the Nintendo Switch dock and everything. So that was pretty cool.
Right. That's the only thing that worries me a little bit in the community is, we're a good community. We're a small community, but I always worry. I mean, you got that big N. You never know when they're going to come in and just stomp you for whatever reason. I do worry about that type of stuff. So far, we've been, I guess, okay, so far.
Oh, man. Well, Glenn, I appreciate you for coming through, spending some time to talk to the people. I hope this is a successful first episode for the both of us. I'm looking to continue this series on, hopefully bring more members of the Arcade1Up community on here, and continue these interview style, just, talk, little hangout sessions. So I appreciate you for coming through. I'll leave all of Glenn's information down in the description below for his channel, the Facebook group. Anything else you want me to leave in the description?
Sounds great, man. I really thank you for bringing me on board for the first episode. I'm honored, and I wish you the best of luck and continued success.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to me as well. Subscribe to Glenn, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. There we go. Click the button. All right, Glenn. Take care. See you guys next time.